You know what our team and I realized after testing 100 Claude Code skills? Most of them are completely useless. Seriously, a lot of people online are building flashy AI demos just to get views on YouTube. But when you actually start building real systems, real automations, or real businesses with AI, you realize very quickly that only a few skills actually matter. And honestly, the best ones are usually the boring ones. The ones that save time, reduce context rot, stop Claude from breaking things, and help you actually ship faster, not just look smart. And over the last few months, our team has obsessively been testing these inside real workflows, not just toy projects. At Reviewly.ai, we use AI every single day across automations, customer flows, reputation systems, and internal operations and promotions. So I wanted to figure out what actually improves output consistently, not once, not in a cherry-picked demo, but every day. Matter of fact, I have an AI staff member that is full-time using Claude Code because AI coding is reaching this weird point right now where the bottleneck isn't intelligence anymore, it's structure, it's workflow, it's context management. And the people who figure that out early are going to move insanely fast over the next couple of years. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 Claude Code skills I kept coming back to over and over again, and why I think they matter way more than most people realize. And quick question before we jump into everything. What's the one thing you wish Claude Code was better at right now? Is it memory, maybe cleaner code, or better UI generation, less hallucination? Drop it down below in the comments. I'm genuinely curious, and my AI team actually checks this, and we might make a follow-up video based on the top responses that we see. Before we get into the actual skills, there's one thing most people completely misunderstand about Claude Code. They think prompting is the skill. It's not anymore. Like 6 months ago, sure. But now, the people getting the best results aren't necessarily writing the smartest prompts. What they're doing is they're building the best systems around AI. Because here's what actually happens for most people. They open a Claude session, they throw 15 different tasks into one conversation, paste giant chunks of code, and ask it to debug 5 things at once. Then 40 minutes later, Claude completely forgets what's happening and starts cooking some random nonsense. And then people blame the model. But usually the issue isn't intelligence. It's context overload. That's the real bottleneck right now. The better your workflow structure is, the smarter Claude feels. The worse your workflow structure is, the dumber it feels. And honestly, this is the exact same thing we see with businesses using AI too. The companies getting huge results aren't necessarily using more tools. They're just reducing friction better. That's a huge part of what we focus on with Reviewly.ai too, using AI to simplify processes instead of creating more complexity. Because the moment AI starts saving actual time consistently, that's when it becomes valuable. So with that in mind, let's start with the first skill. And honestly, this is probably the one everybody should install first. Skill number 1 is the skill creator. So the first Claude Code skill I'd install immediately is called Skill Creator. And honestly, this thing changes the entire experience because here's the problem most people run into. They hear about Claude skills. They try building one manually, then immediately realize they have no idea what the formatting should look like, how the structure works, or why the skill behaves inconsistently. So they either give up or duct tape something together that breaks the second they reuse it. Skill Creator basically removes all that friction. Instead of manually building skills line by line, you just explain what you want in plain English, almost like talking to an employee. You can literally say, build me a reusable workflow for generating SEO optimized blog outlines. Those are one of the ones that we've done. Or create a customer support triage skill. If you run a company, you know that you need that. Or turn this SOP into a reusable Claude workflow. And Claude will help generate the actual skill structure for you. That's why I like this one so much. It compresses the learning curve massively. And honestly, one of the biggest lessons I've learned building Reviewly.ai is this: consistency beats complexity almost every time. The businesses winning with AI aren't necessarily doing the craziest stuff. That's reviews. They're just creating reliable systems that work over and over again. That's exactly what Skill Creator helps with. It makes Claude more repeatable, more structured, and less chaotic. And if you're building automations, client workflows, internal tools, or even content systems, this is probably the best place to start, because once you can reliably create reusable workflows, everything else gets easier. Skill number 2, superpowers. The second skill is called superpowers, and this one is probably the biggest quality upgrade that you can give Claude Code, because what it really does is force Claude to think more like a senior engineer instead of an overconfident intern or outsourced worker. Without this skill, Claude has a tendency to do what most AI models usually do. It rushes. You ask for something, it immediately starts writing code. And at first, it looks impressive, but then you actually test it and everything starts failing apart. Edge cases break. Logic gaps appear. Random things just stop working. And honestly, this is where a lot of AI built apps fail right now. They look finished, the happy trail works, but the second a real user touches them, the cracks show up everywhere. What superpowers does is slow Claude down just enough to actually think. It forces planning before execution. It encourages testing before deployment. It reviews outputs more critically instead of just sprinting towards completion. And that, my friend, changes everything, because when you're building real systems, especially systems customers interact with, reliability matters more than speed. At Reviewly.ai, we think about this consistently with AI-generated responses, customer conversations, multilingual interactions, and automation workflows. The goal isn't just, can AI do this? The real question is, can AI do this reliably at scale? That's a very different problem, and superpowers helps close that gap. Now, is it perfect? No. You still need to do QA, quality assurance. You still need oversight, but your first output may get you 80% of the way there instead of halfway. That's a massive advantage, especially when you're trying to ship things quickly. Skill number 3, GSD, get stuff done. The third skill is called GSD, which stands for get stuff done. And honestly, this is the skill that made me finally understand what people mean when they talk about context engineering. Because if you use Claude Code long enough, you'll eventually hit the same wall. That's where you start a session. Everything's going great. Claude feels smart. It's actually moving fast. Then suddenly, somewhere later in the session, things just start getting weird. It forgets your requirements, starts cutting corners, misses steps you actually already explained in detail, or worse, it tells you something is finished when it is absolutely not finished. That's what's known as context rot. And it's probably one of the biggest hidden problems in AI coding right now. And people hide it when they show you all the cool, sexy things. What GSD does is really smart. Instead of forcing everything into one giant conversation, it creates focused sub-agents for different tasks. So each task gets a clean context window, which means Claude stays sharper, longer. And honestly, this matters way more than people realize, because once context gets overloaded, the model quality starts degrading fast. That's why some people think Claude feels inconsistent. A lot of times the issue isn't the model, it's the environment you're forcing it to operate inside. And if you're building larger projects, client systems, automations, SaaS tools, or anything production related, this becomes a huge advantage for you because now you're spending less time re-explaining things, less time debugging nonsense, and less time fixing problems caused by context overload. It's honestly one of the first skills that made Claude feel genuinely scalable to me. Skill number 4 is a /RE and /Ultra review. All right, the fourth one technically isn't even a plugin. It's already built into Claude Code, and most people still aren't using it. It's the /RE command, and its bigger cousin /Ultra review. And honestly, this one is one of the most underrated features in the entire Claude ecosystem right now. Because once AI starts writing larger amounts of code, you need AI reviewing AI. Otherwise, things get dangerous really fast. So here's how it works. When you run /RE, Claude performs a structured review of your code. It looks for bugs, logic issues, edge cases, bad architecture decisions, and potential failures. Think of it like an automated QA, quality assurance, pass. And now /Ultra review takes this even further. Instead of one review process, it spins up multiple reviewer agents in parallel. One checks logic, one checks security, one checks performance, one checks edge cases. And the really crazy part, it attempts to verify issues before flagging them. So instead of getting random nitpicks or even fake warnings, you're getting much more reliable feedback. And honestly, this is where AI coding starts getting really interesting because now the system isn't just generating outputs. What it's doing is it's evaluating itself. That is a huge shift, especially for production level work. Like if you're touching payments, auth systems, databases, customer workflows, or anything business critical, you absolutely want and need another layer of review. At Reviewly.ai, reliability matters a lot because AI is interacting with real customer conversations and reputation signals. One bad automation can create real-world trust problems. So the more validation layers that you have, the safer AI becomes to scale. And honestly, I think this type of AI self-review is going to become standard everywhere over the next few years. Skill number 5, context mode and Claude Mem. All right, the fifth skill, and honestly, one of my personal favorites is context mode combined with Claude Mem, because this solves one of the most frustrating parts of using AI coding tools right now. Starting over constantly. You open a new session and suddenly Claude remembers absolutely nothing. You're re-explaining the architecture, you're re-explaining the project, re-explaining decisions you already made 3 days ago. And over time, that startup tax becomes brutal, not just in time, but in tokens too. What context mode and Claude Mem basically do is create persistent intelligence around your workflow. Instead of operating like it has short-term memory loss every single session, it starts retaining useful context, files edited, tasks completed, decisions made, errors fixed, architecture patterns. And what's really smart is that it doesn't just dump everything back into the context window, because that would overload the session again. Instead, it retrieves only the relevant information when needed. That's the important part, because honestly, I think context management is becoming more important than prompting itself. The people who understand how to preserve signal while reducing noise are going to dominate AI workflows. And this becomes insanely valuable once you're managing multiple clients, multiple projects, automation systems, or larger AI operations. Because now AI starts feeling less like a chatbot and more like an actual operating partner. And honestly, this is part of the bigger shift happening right now with AI tools in general. The winners won't just be the people using AI. It'll be the people building systems that compound intelligence over time. That is the real game. So after testing all of these skills, I realized something pretty important. Most people are focused on the wrong thing. they become obsessed with finding the perfect model, the newest plugin, the absolute craziest built out AI workflow. But the people actually winning with AI right now, today, are usually doing something much simpler. What they're doing is they're reducing friction. That's it. They're building systems that save time, remove confusion, improve consistency, or create leverage. Because at the end of the day, businesses don't actually care about AI itself. What they care about are the outcomes. Does it save me time? Does it reduce mistakes? Does it help make more money? Does it improve the customer experience? That is what matters. And honestly, that philosophy is a huge part of how we think about AI at my company, Reviewly.ai too. The goal isn't use AI because it sounds futuristic and cool. The goal is use AI to remove friction from trust, visibility, and communication. That's why simple things like automated review follow-ups, AI assisted responses, multilingual conversations, or just smarter customer flows actually matter. Because AI becomes valuable the moment it quietly solves real problems in the background. And honestly, I think that's where this entire industry is heading. Not flashy demos, invisible leverage. That's the future. So those are the 5 Claude Code skills I'd install first if I was starting over today. And honestly, if you just master these few things, you're already ahead of most people using AI coding tools right now. Because again, the advantage isn't about having access to AI anymore. Everybody has access. The advantage is learning how to structure workflows properly, how to manage context, how to reduce friction, how to build systems that consistently produce great outputs. That's the real unlock. And the people who figure that out early are going to move insanely fast over the next few years. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I put together a full Claude Code workflow playbook that breaks down all 5 skills: the initial setup, workflow order, context management tips, and the exact systems our team is personally using right now. So if you want that, comment playbook below and I'll send you the link. And if you're into AI automations, AI business, SaaS, workflow systems, or using AI to actually create real leverage for businesses in the real world, come join the Skool community too. We've really got a solid group of builders, agency owners, operators, and maybe even a few AI nerds inside there sharing what's working in real time. You can join us at agencystarterkit.com. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next video.